Good afternoon, everyone. Gotta love technology. So those that I haven't met, I'm Pastor Teresa. I am the pastor here at St. John's, and we are so honored to have you with us today. Some really basic housekeeping items, because it's important. There is a set of bathrooms through that door or down in this hallway if you need them. Members are all wearing yellow ribbons, so if you have any questions about the church, just tackle someone with a yellow ribbon. A couple other things, in case you didn't see it, Lord of the Grill, a food truck is out in the parking lot. They will be selling food after the concert. You can eat in or take home. We also want you to know that Jason has CDs and t-shirts over here. He's doing good faith offerings. The t-shirts are $20, and you need to sign up to order them. So take advantage of that. Also, St. John's is just really honored to be moving into the veterans ministry with the Compass Group. What we're doing is tending to the soul wounds of veterans, and I think that's such a humble and honest ministry. So someone asked me, what is a soul wound? Well, I want you to stop and think about all those values that you were raised with as a child, to treat others fairly, to love one another, to love your enemy, not to speak ill of anyone, not to hurt anyone. So we instill all those important values, and then we send people off to war, and we ask them to kill in your name and in mine. And that's kind of hard for all of us to swallow, because we say, oh yeah, I didn't pull the trigger, but those people are fighting for our freedom and in our name. So what we're doing is reaching out to veterans when they come home, because very often they have stories that need to be heard. They need people willing to tend the wounds of their soul. So that's where we're headed with this new ministry. We are just really excited about that. And after the service, if you are a veteran or a family member of a veteran, some of the Compass people will be back right behind you. We call that our parlor, to answer any questions. So with all of that said, I want to invite Glenn to come forward and give you a little bit more of a introduction to what we're accomplishing tonight.
So my name is Glenn Miller, and I'm involved in Compass. My wife and I started Veterans Community Network some years ago, and we found some friends on mission, which those of you that may be veterans understand that. And the mission really is to bring new light and bring forth the veterans' voices to tell their stories. One way we do that is through Compass, which is really our circle that now meets here in this church. Before that, it met at St. Andrews, and I think that those of us that have been on this journey hope that we might have some other places that we could do a community and veteran circle together. The key to our movement, to the mission, to the overall journey is that you folks are part of that. In the past, veterans, I know veterans probably today down at the Veterans Administration talking in some group with their feet tapping up and down and their bandanas on, and they're 70 years old and they're still telling stories to each other that aren't the kinds of stories that we hear in Compass. The reason we know that is when they come to a sacred circle, a place that is safe, a place where they can tell the truth to community members, that often, if not always, but often, they tell their story of moral injury, of going against their moral code as we open up in the circle with various prompts that we do. So I think my friend Steve Hamilton might be able to tell us a little bit more about Compass, and then I'll come back up and introduce my friend Jason Moon, and yes, I am a veteran.
I also am a veteran. I'm Steve Hamilton, and it's been a blessing to be involved with Compass. And we keep hearing that word Compass. Well, what does that mean? It's an acronym, friends. And it means circles offering mindful participation and safe spaces. And that happens by having a sacred place. As we gather together, there are rituals involved. But it's a time for us to come together, and it's focused on the veteran, but as a way of bringing them back into community. Well, you can't bring people back into community if community isn't there. So it's a gathering of family members, as we heard. We'll be gathering after the concert with Jason, and then we'll have a chance to talk, but it's the veterans' families and also those that we call strong hearts. There are stories, Glenn's alluded to some of them, there are some stories that you don't want to hear. But this is the place in this group where those stories can be shared and they can be held in a compassionate place by all. We're not there to fix anything. That's not what we're about. What we are about is spending time together in listening and in holding each other, a place where we can share stories. I got involved in the beginning with this after Roger and Scott and Karen had gone and brought this concept forward. And it grew, and it's been, I don't know how many, about 7 years, 7 years, isn't it? Yeah. And we've been gathering together since that time, and it's been a blessing to come up here, Pastor Teresa, for St. John's to welcome us in there, because our dream, our intent, our mission is to grow this and to bring it out further and further into the world, where more people have an opportunity to become part of this. But it is a time, a place, sometimes I'll be honest, I have not wanted to come to Compass. What? Oh, I feel the edge there, thanks. We do care for each other in many ways. Sometimes I did not want to come because it goes so deep and it can be painful, but that's the crucible where we forge something more powerful in the acceptance and the hearing of stories. So if you're interested, if you're a veteran, and again, we cannot do this just with veterans and family members, but it's the community, the strong hearts, where we work together with the understanding of what it means to listen deeply, for deep listening, to share and to hold each other in our pain, in our struggle, in our release. It's a powerful time. Thanks.
So I'm going to stay a little bit from the edge. I'm having a hard time anyway. Okay, so I am pleased to see people that don't have a yellow ribbon on. That means you came from the larger community. We have not had huge gatherings. This is one of the better ones as far as people showing up. But I hope that you have an experience that touches your emotions, touches your soul. Jason and I talked about the songs that he would do, and we're going to build from some sorrow and pain to a little bit more general stories that are told. He can tell you more about it, but basically ending up with some notes and harmony and rhythm for hope for the future, which is what the whole deal's about. So you can tell, because I got a cane, that I'm pushing 75, so it's been a while since I felt comfortable with the stories and with myself. It takes a long time. It's a long journey. To preface what we're going to do, I just want you to know a few things that we do our work around. I think one of the most influential people that I've read and met is Ed Tick. I encourage you to buy his books. Some of them are out there. You don't have to purchase them here. Mary and I have raised money there when we'll start giving them away if you want them. But Ed Tick wrote a book, War in the Soul, and I would tell you one of the main things that I took out of it is, first of all, this soul wound is not new. It's ancient. The Greeks had different terms for it. So it goes back to the ancient world. Whenever there's been war, there's been wounds other than those that draw blood. Always. Forever and ever. I believe that we need to know our history so that we can treat our vets with the appropriate compassion for what they stand for. I believe that deep in my bones, and you can help us do that. Another thing I learned was that many of us take our own lives in one way or another after war. So I don't know what chapter it was in War in the Soul, but basically Ed Tick had done his research. He's a deep researcher. And he said that there's 58,000 plus names on the Vietnam Wall. But 15 years after the war was over, there were another 60,000 of us that had taken our own lives, or disease had gotten us, or something else. Single car accidents are a little hard to determine, so that might be actually larger than that. So that's what we're about, bringing the truth to our community, not in anger, but in honesty. We would like you to understand a little bit more deeply what a veteran experiences and what they carry with them for years and years and years after they have been through the crucible of war. It's not always pleasant. As a matter of fact, most of the time it isn't pleasant, although I had a heck of a good time with Jason and Steve Gunn, my good friends over here, for the last couple of days when we were doing interviews and getting vets together. It was really kind of interesting what we talked about and what triggered between each of us. We have a keen interest in military sexual trauma, because our fellow warriors, our fellow soldiers, our fellow Marines, sailors, and airmen have been affected, and the females are carrying their pain. Pretty much on their own. So they need help from their community. They are isolated, more so even than the men. Some people don't even know that women serve, and now women serve in war zones, the same as men. And one last thing about that is our friend Chanel Santiago that works for the Veterans Center, black female combat veteran, said to us the other day, and Jason asked her what her MOS was. She rattled off some numbers, but what it meant was she was a truck driver. A truck driver. Guess what the most dangerous job is in the sandbox? Driving a truck. Think about it. Okay? All right. So we have a man that has dedicated his life after Iraq service as a combat engineer to pool veterans and musical people together to come up with some really good songs that tell a much better story than I can. So without further ado, Jason, take over, buddy.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Jason Moon. I grew up. Hello. You're all awake. That's nice. I don't have to say it twice. I grew up in a house of domestic violence. As a child, we were poor in Eagle River, Wisconsin. Poor and ignorant. My mom worked Dad had to work, so we were latchkey kids. Any latchkey kids? We call them free-range kids now. Latchkey kids. For those who don't know what a latchkey kid is, it means when you get home from school, you're all by yourself until your parents get home from work. That started when I was about 8. My brother and all his older friends, in order to let me hang out with them, would make me do dangerous things for fun. For instance, one time we were watching Saturday morning cartoons. Now there's only a couple young people in here. You may not notice, but we used to have to get up on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. to watch cartoons, and they only ran till noon. So we had watched Wile E. Coyote chase the Roadrunner off a cliff. Of course, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner goes, opens an umbrella, and floats gently to the ground. And the Roadrunner, he grabs his Acme parachute, pulls it, and of course somebody has put an anvil in there, and he just falls, and then the anvil hits him in the head. Y'all seen this, right? So my brother and his friends, they say, we ought to try that. And by we, they meant me. So I got my umbrella, and I climbed up to the top of that garage. Now, it wasn't too tall of a garage. It's about a story. And I got a good running start, jumped off the edge of that garage, and I didn't do like the Roadrunner at all. I just did like the Wile E. Coyote. I just went, the umbrella folded up, I went down, sprained my ankle, but not to be deterred. My brother and his friends said, we ought to try something a little bigger. Someone had been in science class and talking about surface area, and so by we, they meant me. So they went and got one of those 50-gallon garbage bags that you put your lawn leaves in. I went back up on the garage, thought if I land on the other ankle, maybe it won't hurt so much. Got a nice running start and took a jump, and ladies and gentlemen, for a split second, it caught the air, and I was held there for a split, and then I fell straight to the ground. And then, not to be deterred, they said, we ought to try something even bigger. By we, they meant me. So we went and got my mom's bed sheet off the bed, and I made a little parachute out of that. Got a nice running start, took a jump, and ladies and gentlemen, I swear for at least a half a second, I was suspended in the air, sure that I was going to float comfortably to the ground. And then a gust of wind came or something. Next thing you know, I'm laying on the ground holding my ankles, and we got to call mom home from work, which is bad when you're poor and a latchkey kid. If mom has to come home from work, that's when you get to hear, wait till your dad comes home. Now, I thought this would just be a story that I would only tell to my therapist later in life and not a group full of people. But then I heard a songwriter named Guy Clark sing this song, and I realized I may not be the only idiot who's ever climbed up on a garage roof and tried to jump off and fly. In fact, there may be a few of them idiots in this room with us today who are fellow garage jumpers. He's 8 years old with a flour sack cape tied all around his neck. He found a bone to the garage and he's a figuring what the heck. So he screwed his courage up so dang tight that the whole thing come on wound. Took a running start, bless his heart, he headed straight for the ground. But he's one of those that knows that life is just a leap of faith. Closed his eyes, he spreads his arms, and he always trusts his cape. Now he's all grown up with a flour sack cape tied all around his dreams. He's full of piss and vinegar, in fact, he's busting at the seams. So he licked his finger, checked the wind, said it's gonna be do or die. He wasn't afraid of nothing, my friends, because he's pretty sure he could fly. See, he's one of those that knows that life is just a leap of faith. Closes his eyes, he spreads his arms, and he always trusts his cape. All grown old with a flour sack cape tied all around my head. I'm still jumping off that garage, and I will be till I'm dead. 'Cause all them years, the people, they say, you know, Jason, you're acting just like a kid. But I did not know that I could not fly, so I just did. 'Cause I'm a one of those that knows that life is just a leap of faith. Close my eyes, I spread my arms, and I always trust my Kate. Hope you're one of those that knows that life is just a leap of faith. Close your eyes and spread your arms, and always trust your Kate. You may be asking yourself, what does that story have to do about war? Nothing. It's an example of how I can take a situation like growing up in a house of domestic violence. This is a garden hoe. This is 7 stitches, almost took out my eye and my temple. This finger was reattached with 8 stitches from a car. There's a barbed wire fence, took out half my leg back there from being chased. So I could sit here and tell you all those graphic stories, and they would trigger me. And I would remember these things, and I'd start sweating. I already am, but I would start sweating from that and get anxiety. But I didn't do that. I told you a funny story by a songwriter I really admire to kind of break the ice and share with you. And maybe now you would understand why I needed to join the military and why I was so excited to join. So that's how I'm going to do this, if everybody doesn't mind. I'm going to tell you a funny story and sing you a song. So this is my downrange story, because one thing that happens to us veterans is we always get asked, what'd you do over there? What'd you do down there? And what a lot of civilians don't know is that when you ask us that question, it can trigger us, cause us to have PTSD, causes us to isolate. Pretty soon we don't want to talk to any civilians because they might just ask, what'd you do over there? Or worse yet, the bad version of that is, did you get to kill anybody? Did you see any action? And when we hear those things, we remember the stories and it sends us back, and so we isolate. And in the isolation comes the suicide. And so to avoid that, I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I was, how many people, civilians, if you're a civilian, raise your hand. If you've never been in the military. Beautiful. I hope everybody can see what I did there. I didn't put the veterans on the spot. I put the civilians on the spot. But now I know who's the veterans and who's the civilians. That's if you're speaking in public, I'm going to give you a suggestion that you do that. So this is for the civilians and veterans in the room. I'm going to try to explain to the civilians inside of 10 minutes and a song what it's like to be in the United States military. I'm going to sum it all up, the whole experience, okay? So the veterans, you keep me honest when this is over. If I didn't get most of the experience distilled, I want you to boo or hiss or throw something at me, okay? So if you're civilian, you know some of the stuff we say, like hurry up and wait. Right? In the military, they make you stand in line for 6 hours just to go in the other line and stand there for 2 more. So that's something you hear, but a lot of people never heard this one, which is don't get caught being good at something other than your job, right? I had a friend, for instance, in Iraq. He was a good writer. They said, is anyone a good writer? He said, I have a graduate degree in writing. So he got to write the company history every day after he got off work. So everybody else got a free day, he'd be writing. So you didn't get caught being good at anything other than your job. So when I first got there, I didn't let everybody know that I was a musician. And when I played shows, I would sneak off in the cover of darkness. And that may have had to do that I didn't want to get caught, or may have had to do that we were getting contraband whiskey and putting in our Coca-Cola and having a grand old time every Saturday, going out on a Humvee, and I would play, and the troops would gather around, and just for that little bit of time, we'd all forget that we were in Iraq and people were trying to kill us. One day, the lieutenant comes along. Now, we're smart. We got the whiskey hidden behind the Humvee, but, you know, we're all smiling, laughing in Iraq and singing, so it's kind of obvious what we're doing. He comes along, and he takes a couple sips of soda, and he just observes. He sees me up on the Humvee, and he sees everybody laughing and cheering, and he just kind of nods, and he walks away. We thought we'd gotten away with that. And then all of a sudden, I start seeing all these posters around base. Now, I'm doing these shows on the side, but I don't do anything for the official base. And I start seeing these posters around the base. A talent show coming up next Sunday, talent show. And everybody starts asking me, Moon, you play that talent show, right? And they don't know that I'm not into competitive arts. I don't like competitive arts. There's losers. There shouldn't be losers in art. Everybody's a winner if you're painting. So I don't like competitions. So I said, I'm going to sit that one out. I'm not going to play the open mic. I'm not going to play this talent show. And they don't like to hear this. So it gets to be Tuesday. Talent show's on Sunday. And in my tent walks our lieutenant, whose name I won't mention, but Lieutenant Hansen walks in. Now, he's been with us a lot, so you don't really stand up in the tent. You know, you just kind of hang out. Lieutenant walks in, and he's like, Special Spoon, saw you at the little party there the other night, and gives me the wink. I'm like, yeah, I know you saw me, but you didn't find the bottle, so it doesn't really matter now. He says, you going to play that talent show on Sunday? It'd be really cool. You were really good, and you win. They got people from all over the base coming, and you'll win. What do you say? And I said, no, I don't like competitive arts. And he's like, that's not good enough for me. You're gonna need to play it, son. You're gonna need to go down there on Sunday. And I had a junior year of college when I was in Iraq. I'd gotten that far, so I thought real quick, and I said, I would absolutely love to play that talent show for you, Lieutenant, but I have a hole to dig on Sunday. I'm a backhoe operator, as you know, and I will be digging a hole on Sunday. And he's just, no. We gave everybody off on Sunday specifically for the talent show, so you won't be digging a hole. You have off. And I said, I don't know how to tell you this, buddy, but it's on a need-to-know basis, and right now, you don't need to know. I don't know what to tell you. I sometimes worked with Italian EOD. I had sometimes did some missions. Most of my secret missions were digging shower stalls for officers who didn't want anyone to know that they needed a private shower stall, but he didn't know that. So I told him, Sunday I got a hole to dig. He walks out of the tent. Everybody's giggling, and I feel really happy about what I just did. And then it gets to be Thursday. The talent show's on Sunday. And in walks the captain, whose name I won't mention, Captain Buttrey. He walks in. Now, he doesn't come into our tent as often as lieutenant, so everyone stands up. I mean, they don't stand up real fast, but they stand up, Captain. Someone yells a half attempted at ease, and he comes over. Now, my captain's really intense, so he's giving me the knife hand. And veterans know what this is. It's when you're really serious. You winning honor and glory for the 724 on the tip of the spear. We're making history here. It's 2003 in Iraq. Do you know where you are in the historical context? You win honor and glory for the 724, and he starts using two knife hands. He's in my face, and he's just telling me, and I'm standing at attention. And he says, so you're going to play the talent show, because I know you don't have a hole to dig this Sunday. I mean, I do all your missions. I talk to your section sergeant. I talk to your squad leader. You have off on Sunday. You don't have to dig a hole. Come on down, be a team player. Cool, we're making history. 724. And I just said, no, I can't. I can't. I don't think you're understanding. I would love to, but when this gets up to the highest level, you will understand that I have a mission on Sunday digging a hole. So he just looks, he's looking at his little mission log. No. He walks out of the room. And I was feeling really good. And everybody's giggling. Then it gets to be Saturday, the day before the talent show. And in my tent walks the battalion commander, whose name I won't mention. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchie walks in. Now, this is a guy, you don't get to see him unless you did something so stupid that you're going to jail forever, or something so stupid that you're going to get a really important medal. That's the only time the battalion commander comes into an E4 tent of a combat engineer. Everybody stands up, in perfect attention. At ease, the whole tent. He dismisses the tent, and he gets in my face. Specialist Moon, what's this I hear about you have a mission on Sunday? I want you to know that I think he said exactly, a pencil doesn't move from one side of a desk to another, that I didn't give that order. Everything on this base happens because I say so. I checked every mission log. You do not have a hole to dig on Sunday. You're not with the Italian EOD. You're not with any of the officers. You will get on that stage, and you will play that talent show, and you will win honor and glory for the 724. And I said, I would love to, but I can't. I have a mission. And he's like, that's just total nonsense. And now he's in my face, and you can't do anything, so you just have to stay there and spit's flying. You're going down to that talent show. No, you're going down to that talent show. I will not. Son, he puts his finger in my chest. If you say no one more time, you will spend all day Sunday. And I said, you can say it, sir. Go ahead. You'll spend all day Sunday digging a hole. And I said, yeah, like I said, I have a mission on Sunday. So he knew he'd been beat by an E4, and he didn't like that. So he changed his whole demeanor, and he's like, all right, that was clever. You are clever, I'll give you that. He says, I'll tell you what, that second place is an AM/FM clock radio, and I had to tell him that someone yells in our tent every day and yells, get up, and we don't have power, so I have absolutely no use for an AM/FM clock radio. Someone literally says, get up, you stupid puke, and then I have to leave. That's my life. He proceeds to tell me that first place is $50 American. I had to tell him that we're not allowed to gamble. We don't have a PX, and so $50 is just going to burn a hole in my pocket. And he says, well, tell you what, you guys, combat engineers, I know Charlie Company, been working 16-hour days. Sometimes you pull 48-hour ops. How about a day off? And my eyes got real wide, and I said, nah, are we talking a military day off where I got to show up at 5:45, tell everybody I'm going to leave, then come back at 6 o'clock at night and tell everybody I'm back? Or are we talking 24 straight hours of Jason time? He says, you get 24 hours off and that for $50. I was like, I can make it to Turkey. Get out of this thing, hellhole, with $50 in 24 hours. I didn't say that out loud, obviously. So I thought about how much I don't like competitive art. I thought about how I had fooled the lieutenant and the captain, and I would become part of 724 lore forever. Thought about that $50 at AM FM clock radio with pride and honor. Looked that battalion commander right in the eye, and I said, where do I sign up? They took me aside, and they said, Specialist Moon, we know you're kind of a anti-war progressive over here. We'd appreciate if you play one of the songs that everybody likes. I said, what song would that be? He said, when the lieutenant saw you on the Humvee playing and drinking, because we know you were doing that, you were playing Toby Keith's Beer for My Horse. Everybody loved that song. Will you play that song at the town? So I said, Lieutenant, you can trust me. I'd like to now play you the version of Toby Keith's Beer for My Horses that I played on that stage. It may sound a little different than the version you're familiar with. We won the war, the world is ours. Without wisdom, what good is power? What's the use of declaring the United States of Earth if we don't understand what the planet's worth? It's not a smart bomb or a missile that I need. I need something to believe, something to believe, something to believe. Some to believe. Just about then that Lieutenant Hanson starts looking down at his little list of papers, and he's realizing that I am in fact not playing Toby Keith's Beer for My Horses, but rather I am on a stage in front of 3,000 soldiers who just got done warring, singing an anti-war song. We've gone to the moon, stuck a human in space, then a clone in a sheep. They got this thing called cyberspace. It was 2004. It was still relatively new and amazing. But no matter what miracles the scientists perform, they still cannot explain why the soul is born. See, they don't do the kind of magic tricks I need. I need something to believe, something to believe, something to believe. Some to believe. Look in the back, and there's Lieutenant Hanson, Captain Butchery, Lieutenant Grummage, and they're all taking turns looking at each other, really confused. Now, to be an officer, you got to have a college education, so I thought I could dazzle them with some polished BS, so I sang him this song. I shaved my head, dressed in black. Maybe I stick a ring in my nose, tattoo my back. I've read Nietzsche and Tolstoy and Boomer Kerouac. And I've hitchhiked cross country, this guitar on my back. Even sat for many hours neath the Bodhi tree. There's something to believe, something to believe, something to believe. Some to believe. They were about as impressed as all of you are. just kind of sat there shaking their head, although they were a lot more angry. Lieutenant Hanson was getting ever increasingly angry, and then I was like, I've lost control of this show. And I looked around, and they had what's called in the military mandatory fun. So they make you go to fun things like this. The guy before me was a what else things? Accordion players, and he didn't know how to play accordion. So everybody had to sit there for 15 minutes and listen to a guy who didn't know how to play accordion. Well, I'm up there, and I realized, like, these people all just got done warring. They're literally sitting there with loaded weapons, fully automatic pistols. They've got grenade launchers. They're sweaty and dirty, and they're just looking at the chow hall like, when is this going to be done? I realized if I can get them, if I can get these down and dirties, these infantry and combat engineers and all the guys that are out there sweating and dirty, and like, then I'll win. So I sang him this line. Well, I've committed crimes. I take stupid risks. I figure if God punishes me, well, that'll prove he exists. I've done acid and cocaine and unprotected sex. When I maxed out my credit, brother, I just kept on writing checks. But no jury of my peers has convicted me. Looking for something to believe. Something to believe. Something to believe. Something to believe. And I got to this last line of the song, and I realized, again, that all of these people were armed to the T. I mean, some of them hadn't even taken the rounds out of their chamber. Literally just come in from warring to see this stupid talent show I was playing at. And I realized this next line was a tad bit offensive. And then maybe they weren't all as, like, upset about being in the war as I was, or confused, conflicted. And then I could sing this line and quite possibly piss them off enough that they would shoot me on stage in rejection of my statement. But then I thought, man, what a way to go. I mean, you would know about me, right? Some silly guy in Iraq got shot all at the same time by 2,000 pissed off Joes because he sang a protest song. You would remember me. But to my surprise, they didn't do that. And as opposed to getting upset when I sang this next line, there was a cheer that came out across the crowd that reminded me that maybe, just maybe I wasn't alone in my questioning and like this. Government's corrupt and politicians lie. And both candidates cash checks from the same guys. But there's gotta be something people still can do. And when we figure that out, just like we always do, you got to cry, you got to try, you might even have to bleed. You want something to believe, something to believe, something to believe. Some to believe. I realized after I sang that song that I am in the sanctuary of a church standing by the altar. So I hope I will be forgiven for saying the honest words of war up here. So that was another easy way to tell you a fun story about my experience. And I didn't have to tell you that later on that my unit would have an incident where a child would be struck and killed. And later on, that lieutenant would take me out on a solo mission and leave me abandoned by a building. And some kids would come out to play with me. And luckily, they came out to play with me because I always gave them chiclets. And if I hadn't done that, when that lieutenant conveniently took me out to that little spot, the kids wouldn't have come out and played on me. And they were playing on me when these bad guys showed up, and I didn't die that day because I gave kids chiclets. But I didn't want to tell you that story because I'm still in therapy for that one. So I told you the talent show story. But there are lots of stories in all of us veterans. And so now I'd like to give an opportunity to do what is known as the Whitting Tree, where we can bear witness to those we lost. Glenn is going to take over for a second. Oh, I love it. See, I always have to wait, and then someone has to be brave enough. I have in my attic everything made of electronics in Iraq got what was known as the Iraqi disease. It got all the sand in it, and it stopped working. So in my attic, I have an AM/FM clock radio ready to present to those three for their honor and glory. A 12-piece, these people from a church from Georgia, the choir, 12-piece choir showed up and just rocked the house and brought it down. They won, legitimately.
Show you another ritual and that we do that is solemn and sacred. Here, I just want you to understand it a little bit by demonstration. So I'm going to go over and get some dog tags, and the idea is that we'll put a few of you can come up and put a dog tag on my Charlie Brown Christmas tree that's over here. Okay. It's an appropriate kind of tree because most of you then could say, well, look, when they're doing the wedding tree at church, maybe we'll go out and on a shrub or one of the ashes that's dying and has low branches on it. Maybe you could do a wedding tree yourself. We usually do it before Veterans Day, and I know the church is going to do that. And we have been doing this, Scott and Roger Kessler started it at church. It's been at least 6 or 7 years. I was invited, so I came up in Percy. And the first time we were there, I started jumping out in the middle of the street and trying to stop cars to see whether anybody would participate with us. That was not happening. One guy did pull into the driveway to turn around, and I said, how about we're bearing witness to the suicide rate in the military? And he said, how about them Eagles? So so far we haven't been really getting across too well what we were doing this for the general public, but maybe more people know. As more people know that one of the less, certainly it's not a happy moment, but a moment that needs some compassion and some understanding. And I'd like to see our country ask why. Why is this happening? Why is this happening to our military personnel at such a high rate? It's like a good standard deviation above the norm. Women are having tremendous problems, and isolation leads to, and they know the women in the military know how to use a weapon. So the suicide rate is seriously high, partially because they're effective at ending the pain. It's a way to end the pain. So let's bear witness to that, and I'll give a few people a dog tag, and those that want to come up can do that have or get a dog tag. And then to get back to the music, we'll just have, if you want to say someone's name out loud that's a veteran, we can remember them and memorialize them, even if they died of natural causes. But if you just want to do that, that's how we'll do the wedding tree tonight. Okay. So.
I was going to say, you've probably realized we've transitioned past the funny, humorous part into the sad part that Glenn warned you about. But I promise you, after we speak a little more on this so that you understand the depth of what we deal with, we will be getting to hopefulness and what we're doing to bring these veterans back home. And I have my great friend Steve who's gonna sing you a song too, and I'm gonna show you a video. So if we started with this, I figured half of you would just run out of the door. So I wanted to tell you a few jokes first, get your butt nice in the seat, and now you feel really awkward if you walk out. I came home from Iraq, and I was a professional songwriter and a musician, and my experience and what I was asked to do caused such harm inside me that I couldn't write a song for almost 5 years. Every time I would try, no matter what I tried to write about, it would all go back to sadness. When you've harmed a civilian or a child or been involved in that, it's hard to be happy because every happiness you see reminds you of what you took from someone. So I found I couldn't write. I could write just this one song for 5 years. As a professional songwriter, it's not a good sign. How do they expect a man see the things that I have come back and be the same? The things I've done that I regret, the things I've seen I won't forget, for this life and so many more. And I'm trying to find my way home. The child inside me, long dead and gone, somewhere between, lost and alone. I have seen another side, another slice of the pie. Didn't seem too fair to me. People who did not deserve the sufferings that they incurred. Freedom ought to be free. Trying to find my way home. The child inside me is long dead and gone, somewhere between, lost and alone. Whether we lose or win, I'm so sick and tired of the spin. I don't think I can take anymore. If the truth must stay in disguise, hidden beneath all the lies, what were we fighting for? I'm trying to find my way home. The child inside me is long dead and gone, somewhere between, lost and alone. Trying to find my way home. And I was trying hard to keep a smile as I looked into the eyes of my child, to tell him my dad has to go. And after daddy's went away, he's come back and he ain't the same as the man that you used to know. Still I'm trying to find my way home. The child inside me is long dead and gone, somewhere between, lost and alone. I'm trying to find my way home. So now I'm sitting here with time to kill, just staring out my windowsill, trying so hard to forget. Time I may forgive myself, but history repeats itself and burdens my soul with regrets. I'm trying to find my way home. The child inside me is long dead and gone, but somewhere between, lost and alone. I'm trying to find my way home. Lately it's occurred to me, you know it's hard to fight an enemy that lives inside of your head. To spend my life in between the sleepless nights and the bad dreams, I think I might rather be dead. I'm trying to find my way home. The child inside me is long dead and gone, somewhere between, lost and alone. To find my way home. So how do they expect a man to see the things that I have come back and be the same? Thank you. That was the only song I could write, and eventually it wound up on this CD. Which has given out over 32,000 copies for free to veterans across the country. This prevented 35 confirmed suicide attempts and about 200 more confirmed. I count when the person who was going to kill themselves tells me that they didn't. The 200 are when a parent or a loved one or a spouse tells me that. I know a bit about suicide because I spent 4 years hiding from it all. trying desperately and hoping that it would go away. I would go to the VA and tell them, just enough. Haven't slept in 3 days. And not what they needed to hear. Haven't slept in 3 days again this week, and I'm self-medicating with alcohol to sleep and anything else I can get in my body to take these thoughts away from my head. But I told them what I thought they wanted to hear, and they gave me drugs, lots and lots of drugs. Clonazepam, cyclobenzaprine, Ambien, amitriptyline, amitriptyline. I had a whole rap where I could say all 32 of them to you, but they had an adverse effect on my memory, and so I forgot that rap, which is a joke in and of itself, and one person got that, which I appreciate. In the spring of 2008, I had a really bad time of it. I was drinking a lot. I was going into bars and just standing behind the biggest, toughest looking dude in downtown Milwaukee and just start talking smack to see if I could get some of that adrenaline from the war going. And it was horrible. And I'd wake up with furniture broken and punch it holes through walls. And I was thankful that this never came out on my family, but it came out around my family. And one day in the spring of 2008, I had taken, I'm a good citizen, so when the VA gave me a drug and it stopped working, gave me another one, I didn't throw it in the toilet. I threw it in a little cotton bowl container, a little glass thing in our cupboard with the intention of one day taking it to that place you're supposed to take it and disposing of it so it doesn't wind up in the waterways. And after 4 years, and I had about 32 different powerful medications in this bowl, and it was a reminder of the failure of my healing. So I was drinking a lot of alcohol and staring out at this broken furniture, and it just hit me all of a sudden. In the military, you have 3 jobs. You keep yourself alive, that's number 1. You keep your buddies and your team alive, and then you accomplish the mission to the best of your ability with no excuses. And I found myself home staring in the mirror, looking at this pile of medication in this glass bowl and drunk in this broken furniture, and it occurred to me, I know what to do here. There is a threat to my team. My team is my family. What do we do in Iraq when there's a threat to the team? We eliminate the threat. Who's the threat? The drunken veteran who can't control himself, the PTSD rage and the alcohol and bring it home by the cops, yada, yada, yada. So I decided in that moment that I would eliminate the enemy. And I'm sometimes brought into conferences by therapists to talk about this, and I try to explain that I wasn't killing myself. I was killing the PTSD. I was killing the voices in my head. I was silencing them, and they were that horrible that I would take myself out with them. It was euthanizing myself from what I felt was a terminal illness that could not be cured and would eventually lead to me harming someone else. So I started drinking that bottle of whiskey, and I started taking those pills as fast as I could get them down. And I got about 3 big handfuls down, and I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be singing to you. I was in a coma for almost 3 days. My wife thought I was just hungover. I couldn't talk or walk. When I woke up after the 3rd day and could finally move my legs and get out of bed, I went to the VA hospital. This is a song I wrote about 3 weeks before that happened. When the hope you've been searching for is so very far away, you hear your worst enemy, every word you say. When the light shines so dim that you cannot see your hand, letting go is the only way you know to escape your pain. Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. When you think that you've seen the end and it is all that you can take, you give everything everything you want just to catch your breath today. When it don't let up and you feel so down and there's nowhere to turn and you look all around and you find that you've lost all your faith in you. There's nothing left for you to do except hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. Simple things that used to make you smile, now you say, well, it's been a long, long while since I felt so good like I thought I would, like I hoped I should someday. When you've given up and given in and lost your life to a ball of sin, and you just can't win no matter how you try. You get down on your knees and you start to cry and I say, hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. So when you've lost your will to speak, little reprieve is all you seek, and some peace of mind would suit you fine if things would go right for me for just one time. Throw your hands up to the air. Everybody just looks and stares and say, I've been there, but do they know what it feels like when light just fades and darkness grows? Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. Hold on, hold on, hold on for one more day. So, this is going to be another joke that only a few people were going to get. If there's any infantry or Marines in the audience, I just want to say I survived the suicide attempt, in case you were worried. It's a joke. Combat engineers make fun of infantry because they're tougher than us, but only slightly. Yeah, they can dig their own holes, I know. But I survived by the grace of God. This song is also on the CD, and a sad but grateful thing happens at the time in 2008 at the Milwaukee VA. If you fail a suicide attempt, you stop getting all the student doctors, and you get to work with the #1 doctor at the VA. I don't know what happens for everyone who doesn't wake up or why you have to do that, but suddenly I found myself there for 4 years of being kicked around from student doctor and training doctors, and doctors just kind of passing through. I got a real committed doctor at the Milwaukee VA, and I spent a full year dedicating myself to anything. At this point, PTSD had tried to kill me, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. They had yoga, Tai Chi. If they would have said underwater basket weaving, I would have said, sign me up. I'll do it for 8 weeks, because I'm not putting my family through that again, and PTSD is not going to get me again. I'm going to see it coming. I started educating myself on everything I could learn about. What is it? How does it get inside your head? I got diagnosed with PTSD. I got a comp and pen so I could breathe a little bit and live a little bit. And that's when I got hooked up shortly after that suicide attempt with Dr. Ed Tix. My dear friend held a yoga fundraiser, sold T-shirts, was going to send me on this retreat. And like a good combat veteran, I said at the last minute, I can't go unless my wife comes with me. Sorry, I guess we won't be going there. And she said, nope, we'll raise money for her too. So then they went and did more T-shirt sales and sent my wife along too. And it was one of the most profound healing moments in my life. I was there with a couple other veterans, and just over that 4-day week, 4 days or 3 or 4 days of that retreat, my entire ability to be underneath it or above it, I don't know how else to explain it, changed. I got the high ground that weekend. And that's all I needed to win the battle. I'm still fighting it. So part of that was Ed Tick started sharing the song Trying to Find My Home at his retreats, and the next thing you know, I'm getting letters and emails from family and friends, and it's getting played all over the country. And suddenly I go from this veteran who was feeling isolated, alone, and weak, and was one of the reasons I wanted to kill myself, because I wasn't talking to other veterans, and suddenly I'm getting emails from across the country from other veterans. One Marine, I sing a show, he kicks me in the corner, he punches me as hard as he can in the arm. That's how Marines say they love you. And he tells me, "You made me cry in front of my friends, and they think I'm a big, tough Marine, and I was up there crying. I don't cry." And I was like, okay, well, that's two of us, right? Two of us are as messed up as me, and then another one, and then another one. And I'm a spiritual person, as you may be able to tell, and I also am a little bit of a rebel, so I didn't think God was going to take me seriously when I said, if I get 10 of these, I will drop everything I'm doing and do something about it. The reason I didn't think God would believe me is because I was in the middle of finishing a graduate degree in religious studies, about to start my PhD in religious studies. So I thought that was, pretty safe for the big guy to be okay with. But he had other plans, because the 10th correspondence I got was from a mother whose son had been there the same time I was. He was there in the same AO I was, and doing the same work I was, but with another battalion. And he came home like I did, and he didn't have a problem. He didn't have a problem so much that he had failed 3 suicide attempts, not getting rid of the problem that he didn't have. And he didn't need help, and he didn't need to talk to anybody. And his mother didn't know what to do. She said she played him trying to find my home, and hold on. She said he broke down and cried, told her what he had done and been asked to do, and checked himself into the VA the next day. And that was it. That was 2011, and I said, all right, wherever you want, wherever you go, wherever you send me, I will go. I started traveling the country, sleeping on people's couches and playing in small places like this. By the time it became 2013, I had traveled 250,000 miles. I gave a I didn't bring it up here. There's a presentation over there called 7 Things Not to Say to a Veteran. I'd given that over 300 times, which is why it's on a DVD, because I got other shows. And we started getting together with other veterans in this retreat model. What I had seen in Dr. Tick's model, I wanted to utilize that, but I wanted to utilize the arts. He had this idea that Glenn expressed too, and that the Compass is expressing that, and that I forgot our pastor's name, but that Teresa said too. I'm sorry, I have TBI, and I just met you. That the community has an obligation to listen, and it's not just an obligation. I want to tell you, friends, it's key. It's key. We do not heal, right? We go to war in the name of the civilian population, and we come home and we're expected to carry all of this pain by ourselves, but we didn't do that for ourselves. We did it for all the civilians. But I also realized that in this brilliance of Ed Tick's model is that it's really hard to sit and listen to some of these stories for civilians. We have acronyms you don't know about, and we swear a lot when we talk sometimes as combatant veterans. Maybe, I don't know, I've been told. So maybe if we use the arts. So I had this crazy idea. I took 3 or 4 people from Dr. Tick's retreat, including the woman who sent me, who is now my creative arts director, and we created a retreat model, and we did it right here in Pennsylvania, our very first one at Pendle Hill. And it was amazing. We had miraculous. We had a woman who had been sexually raped several times. There's no young children in the room, so I'm just going to use the real word. She was raped several times. She was living in a halfway house for heroin addiction when she came to us. Her daughter was taken away from her because of her drug use. A year and a half later at that retreat, she called us. She had just accomplished her first year of college. She was in her own home with straight A's, and she had her daughter back. And this is the kind of work we do. So I'm going to show you and tell you more about that, but I want to play you a song. I don't want to run out of time because we got some people coming. But this is the song we wrote at that retreat. We do all kinds of stuff. We take them all the way back to war and give each one an opportunity to talk about their most honest story that we only share in those sacred soils. And then we take them all the way back home, what went wrong. And we do it all through art modalities. And in the end, there's a big art presentation, and we also write a song together. So this is the song, and this is the first time I did this, because I'm crazy like that. I just get an idea, and I just trust my cape. And I just said, I'm going to start a retreat, and I'm going to write a song with these veterans. Never done it before. And to make it really hard, I'm going to do it in an hour and a half, because we got a lot of stuff crammed into these sessions. So we did a whiteboard, and we asked it was a BDU uniform. We put it up, and we said, tell us all the stuff you carried outside. And bullets and knives, bayonets, all kinds. Each branch has its own stuff. So the Marines don't call their knife a bayonet. They call it their K-bar, right? Or there's all these different words. So, but it's really a trick. We get all the veterans to just unload all this stuff, and when they're all done and they can't think of another single thing that they physically carried, we open up the BDU. And we say, now, tell us what you carried inside. And it's letters from home, and hope, and fear, and shame, and guilt. And then we wrote this song. When we were called to service, we carried many things. Compass, maps, pictures from home, promises and wedding rings. Dog tags, rucksacks, bayonets, and this here damn M16. But the rank up on my shoulder left little time for me. Some things we carried could save our lives, and others we used to kill. Cigarettes, a P-38, and every ammo pouch was filled. Somehow these things grew heavier as each day passed us by. But we had to carry all of it, stuff it down inside. Now I lost some gear along the way out there in the field, but I also lost a piece of myself, but there wasn't time to heal. Must complete the mission, stand my ground, and fight on to the end. And I would gladly lay down my life to save that of a friend. So you think that maybe when we got home there'd be less burden on our backs. No more dress right, dress, drive on, no more worries of a tax. Pounds and pounds and pounds of gear were the lightest things we hauled when compared to all the things we've seen and all the pain we can recall. Some things I still carry, and others I've left behind. And now the memories are the weight, it seems, that's always on my mind. Now that we are home at last, and all the gear's been stowed away, we find it's the things we carry in our hearts that weigh us down these days. Some things we carried to save our lives, and others we used to kill. But we had to carry all of it, I guess we always will. Yes, we had to carry all of it, and I wonder if we always will. So that's on this CD, Warrior Songs Volume 1. I decided, I was at a retreat with Dr. Tick in 2011 in Georgia. I can't tell you anymore. I'll give away the individual's identity. A woman had been raped in the Navy. She said something to me. She changed my life. She said, you know, Jason, if you could take my trauma of being raped in the Navy and turn it into a song the way you did with Trying to Find My Way Home for your PTSD, I think I would have a healing similar to that you have had. And that was the aha moment. I started collecting stories and songs from veterans as I would do these travels and these retreats, and we put it all out on a CD. This is the Warrior Songs Volume 1, and it turned out looking a lot like me, very white and very male, and I got yelled at a lot. And I don't like being yelled at. So when the yelling was done, I said, well, what did I do wrong? And I was told what I did wrong. So then I got a group of 5 women together and created the first ever in the history of modern music, Women at War, Warrior Songs Volume 2, the story of women veterans. This is legitimately the first time in the history of contemporary music that anyone has taken the stories of women veterans and turned them into music. And not only that, I want to say, for the gentlemen in the room, I did it the right way too, because I took 5 women and I just put them above me, and then I just shut up and listened. It's not as hard as it looks. Actually, it was really hard. I don't want to lie, it was really hard. But I'd like to, from this, I started going to conferences. I started to talk to women veterans. I started to be invited to places. Sometimes I'd be the only man in the room who wasn't an MST survivor, and singing songs in this capacity and support. And eventually I said, I wonder if we could do a retreat. I wonder if we could bring women MST survivors into our PTSD retreat. They're already open gender, not all dudes, but what if we legitimately invited these women just in here? And so we invited three women to come to our retreat, and we said we recognize that MST is a legitimate wound of war, no different than a bullet hole. So anyone, you can have that, you come. And I'm going to tell you a story about a brave woman who came, and I want to tell you all now, she has very specifically given me permission to share this story. We do not share any stories that you hear me telling about other veterans. It's very specifically, and I even tell them, no, I won't. And I make them come back and tell me 3 or 4 times, yes, please tell my story, because these are very sacred. She wants you to hear this story. I need you to know that. She asked that I tell you this story. Her name is Clara. And she was in the South American wars. I'm not going to tell you all the details because that's not what I've been given permission to do. But she was down in South America and she was taken hostage by our own troops. She was taken into a connex and chained to a bed for about 6 days where they took turns raping her and talking about how they would dispose of her body in front of her, what chemicals they would use to get rid of the DNA evidence and where they would get the tools to cut up the body. But eventually they chickened out and they just took a bunch of pictures of her in compromising positions and released her. And as you can imagine, her life has been very difficult. She spent 25 years, substance abuse, cutting, and she had never told that story to anyone except therapists, VA therapists. She came to our retreat, one of 3 women with MST and a bunch of dudes with PTSD. And she felt safe and nurtured and in a sacred space and trusted, and everybody rallied around each other, and she started to tell her story. She started to tell her truth. And not only did she do that, then at the art show, she got up on stage in front of 120 complete strangers, stood in front of the podium. She ripped the top off the wooden podium with her fingernails in it. You could have heard a pin drop in that church. When after she was done speaking, 2 or 3 male veterans got up and ran out of the room to puke because they wanted to burn their uniforms. They didn't want to be in that club. And when I next saw Clara, about 6 weeks later, it was at the release of this CD. And all the veterans and anyone who suffers from trauma will understand the relevance of this. She came into this release party in this crowded bar full of male veterans. And she sat at a middle table with her therapy dog, with her back to the door, and enjoyed that concert. That's the magic of these retreats. Now I know Clara is currently in therapy at Fort McCoy. She's gone back in, and I'm going back in EMDR, and we're therapy buddies. She's holding me to my commitment because I'm not back in yet, and she is. So she's not here, but there is a song we wrote. She inspired me that we could, in fact, do that. Yes, a male-run organization could engage women veterans who've been raped in the military, and we could do something about it in positive. So we created our first ever women-only MST retreat, staffed by myself, one other male, and then it's all women. And I would like to play a song for you out of that. It's called See Me, and there's a video that we make. Now, you're not going to see any of the veterans' faces because we are very protective of that, but you will see the art they create, and you'll hear the song we wrote together. Before you start, I wrote this song with all their testimony, and every person, it's not done until every one of the 16 women said that their truth was in it. And so it's sung from a female perspective, but I just want you all to know I'm not a woman. It's just written that way so that eventually we will have a woman musician bring it to life. So go ahead. Young and full of trust, I answered yes, sir. Occupational hazard wasn't in the brochure. An enemy from within took all my dreams away. I became the problem, disposable, thrown away. All this guilt and all this shame, all that stands in the way. The woman that I know I could be, if the world would see me. was in shock, bruised, broken, and ashamed. Crushing sense of suffocation, spirit bound and gagged. Betrayed by my brothers, disbelieved by my command. Carrying this invisible wound was never part of my plan. All this guilt and all this shame, all this stands in the way. Woman that I know I could be if the world would see me. Anger and my rage, I pushed everyone away. As I blame self-doubt, self-medication, price that I now pay. Visible in my pain, each day I withdraw. Alone in isolation, wondering, should I just end it all?
Look at me. See me. Yes, all of me. Because here I am. You came into my world uninvited, unwanted, unapologetic, stealing my dreams, trying to destroy me. You changed who I was supposed to be. You left something behind. Words in my head I started to believe. Broken, ugly, ashamed, unwanted, unloved. But those are the words of yesterday, memories I choose to leave behind. Here I am, here I am, here I am. I'm becoming someone I want to be. Beautiful, strong, courageous, happy, loved, worthy. I'm working my way back to me, the warrior I am to be. So see me, yes, really see me.
Embracing the creative, a voice now heard at last. Life's rhythm is a peaceful flow. Trauma now lives in the past. And I love and accept myself, 'cause I've reconciled. I am a fearless woman warrior who loves her inner child. All this guilt and all this shame, none of it can stand in the way of the woman that I was meant to be. See me, see me, see me. So that's the work we do now. We are just about to do our 6th retreat. We have an all-women MST retreat happening February 23rd to the 27th in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I actually, in one of these circles, I met a woman here from Pennsylvania who on Thursday, she didn't know if she had any issues and didn't really know if she should be there. And then she came back Friday realizing after talking to other veterans that she did need help. And now Saturday, she did some writing and she'd like to come to our retreat. So there's a chance for this community to send a woman from this community to one of these retreats. Following up on that, in October, we have one for Vietnam veterans exclusively in Wisconsin. And so when I decided to do Women at War, I wasn't planning on doing retreats on MST, but the education I got, I'll just say that this CD unfortunately has more instances of rape than it does have testimony givers. So I always tell the men who don't get that, you just have to do the math, and you'll understand the education I got. So when I did this CD, I got yelled at, and I knew the women needed to go next. But I also had in my heart a sacred place for the Vietnam veterans. Because when I went on that Ed Tick retreat, it was 3 other Vietnam veterans in the room with me that normalized all my symptoms. And in one 15-minute session, I went from a crazy, isolated person to just another person who's a veteran. And so we came up with this one, which is our latest volume that came out this August. It's called The Last Thing We Ever Do, Warrior Songs Volume 3, The Stories of Vietnam Veterans. And what was so amazing of this, well, it's super amazing. So we're getting ready to play Disquieted Mind on the audio. I had a chance then to come full circle and honor Dr. Tick, who had given me so much. And we use his methodology in our retreats. So I called up his organization. I said, we're doing this CD on Vietnam vets, and I can't sing a song about Ed Tick because he's not a Vietnam vet. But if you would provide for me a Vietnam veteran who went through your program and who, like speaks to this importance of it in their own healing, I could feature their story and, and point to Dr. Tick's work. And so I'd like to play for you the song. I took my good friend Steve Gunn, who's back here and going to sing a song right after this, and another musician, and we put this song together. And I can't play it, and neither can Steve, so that's why we're going to listen to it.
I don't know how to make this right, but I'll try. And every morning when I wake, I'll try. I've been wrong so many times and walked a crooked line, but I'll try. I'll try. My brother said keep driving, this don't mean nothing to you. Moving through our separate gravities and the vertigo of the truth. I did not look back to study your face and all that we were leaving behind. But now I see you and I know what we've done, for I have a disquieted mind. I swear I tried, but I got nothing to brag about. Since I wrapped the wounds of my brothers as we burned your reality down, and I would hold you blameless if you'd only want me gone. But I was cold and you've been kind, you have kept me warm. I'm not home, and I'll never be home again. But I'll take off my shoes and sleep on your floor if you'll let me in. And I could never blame you if you want to send me back where I'm from. But if you let me stay here, I could build you something out of my love. Take it or leave it, it's a trivial gift. But there's a thing that I'm building from silence, and a hammer that cracks in the wind. It's a full-time occupation to bring this wreck to amends. When it's plumb and square, I will imagine you there, though I may never see you again. I've been told, welcome home. I don't remember where to go. I'll follow you down the road. If you know, I've been told, welcome home. I don't remember where to go. I'll follow you down the road. If you know,
If you gave me diamonds as numerous as the ripples in the Mekong, it would not match the gift of your listening to the outpouring of this soldier's heart.
So that was an interesting song because the songwriter was a friend of mine named Jeff Mitchell. And the chorus you hear, he actually went and got a bunch of my friends who knew me before I went downrange and knew me when I came home broken and used them on the song. Pretty beautiful. Steve's going to come up and play another song, and then I think, can you guys stick around for 2 more songs? Is that appropriate? Let me steal this, make some room for you.
This was Jeff Mitchell is a songwriter, and we collaborated. I told him my story and sent him pictures and poems, and he wrote the song. Yes, thank you. So that was a song about moral injury and the effects of. And this is another one about moral injury. This is by a singer-songwriter named Richard Thompson, who's a fabulous writer from the UK. And this is about the effects of military service on the soul. And the song is called How Will I Ever Be Simple Again? Which is kind of like, Jason was talking about people wanted him to be the same as he was after he got back from service, and he wasn't, because that's not the way it works. Oh, she danced in the street with the guns all around her, all torn like a rag doll, barefoot in the rain. And she sang like a child to her day, to her daddy. Oh, how will I ever be simple again? She sat by the banks of the dirty gray river, tried for a fish with a worm on a pin. But there was nothing but fever and ghosts in the water. How will I ever be simple again? War was my love and my friend and companion. What did I care for the pretty and plain? But her smile was so clear and my heart was so troubled. How will I ever be simple again? In her poor burned down house, I sat at her table. The smell of her hair was like cornfields in May. And I wanted to weep, but my eyes ached from trying. How will I ever be simple again? So graceful she moved through the dust and the ruin. Happy she was in her dances and games. Oh, teach me to see with your innocent eyes, love. How will I ever be simple again? How will I ever be simple again?
How about a big hand for Steve Gunn? That disquieted mind is still one of the most powerful songs to me. It still makes me cry every time I hear it. And as the producer of this CD, I heard the songs at least 500 times each, and it still gets me. I've been told welcome home, but I don't know where to go. It's just a little too true. Sometimes this truth can be a little too true. So that's good. I want to play one more song and do a little more talking, and then I want to let you go because that food smells so good out there. And I know trick-or-treating starts, and I'm sure a lot of you younger people want to get out there trick-or-treating. You don't, but that's just something. So I wanted to show you this. This is the DVD presentation. It's also online, so you can download this if you want to see. It's 7 Things You Shouldn't Say to a Veteran. It's a great presentation. By the time you get to the end, you know what PTSD is, you know how it hurts us, and you know not to say things like, how many people did you kill? I would have given it this time, but I've given it 350 times, and I'm just a little tired of it. And it's sad, and I wanted to give you guys something a little happier. So I wanted you to know that all of the stuff we create is free to veterans. Warrior Songs does not charge veterans ever anything. In fact, we're starting to build a 15-day reconciliation trip to Vietnam that'll cost $5,000 a veteran, which is more than we've ever done. We're considering a sliding scale just for that. So if you're a veteran, everything you see back there is free. Please grab a CD. If you know a veteran or you know somebody who would be moved by this or is struggling, please grab whatever you need. It is free. I'm from Wisconsin, and we have this thing called Midwest Nice. So I'm going to say it again so you won't pull the Midwest Nice on me. It's free. For the civilians, you might be asking yourself, how do we give all the stuff away for free to veterans? If you would be so kind, if you're a civilian, if you can put anything you want in that little basket over there. And if you don't have money, you can write a note and just say, I really enjoyed the show, and put it in the basket and take whatever you'd like. Don't make me fly back to Arizona with a bag full of stuff that you wanted but wouldn't take because you pulled the Midwest Nice on me. So this is why we make it, why we do it. These songs, and I'm sure Steve will vouch for me, he wants his truth and his song out there, and as many people to hear it as possible. And the women on the CD, they want their truth out there for as many people to hear it. And when people hear it and listen, it doesn't just help the women on the CD, it doesn't just help the veterans that contribute, it helps every single veteran who's had moral injury, because when they see civilians getting it, listening to a song, they say, maybe I can talk to these civilians. Maybe they can get me. Maybe there is a way to bridge this gap between what we have to say, which is pain, and more than we can even carry. I'm sure you saw, I try to get to some memories and I start to shake and cry. And I know it's hard for you all to carry that are civilians. So maybe if we put it into art, it becomes just a little bit easier. In fact, I know it becomes easier because, well, that's what I do for a living. And that's why I flew in to see you. So I'm going to play a song that sums this all up. Then I'm going to ask them to put the video for Seeds of Peace on, which is a wonderful song I wrote in Vietnam when I went over there. But I'm not going to tell any stories about it. We'll just let that play out, and then you guys go get some food, and we'll kind of close it up like that. Does that sound good? All right, so this is the song. Now, every 5 years or so, because I do this full time, and I want you to know nobody at Warrior Songs gets paid either. Everyone is a volunteer. Everything we do is volunteer, and everything is free to the veterans. Pretty amazing. So that doesn't leave me with a lot of money or time. So every 5 or 6 years, I get to do my own CD. And usually there's not a lot of war stuff on there because, well, I just have enough of that in my life. So there's 2 CDs over there, The Wolf I Fed and Love and Life, which are my own personal CDs, unrelated mostly to the military experience. If you'd like to take one of those, they're also free because I just don't feel like figuring out how we'd count all that out. But this song, I got to put on my personal CD. I wrote this with a group in California, in Glendale, a group of veterans called the Warrior Writers, and they'd get together and they'd write. And I went down and wrote a song from their writings. And because our schedule, we don't have a place to put a CD because they were all white men, I just put it on my CD because I wanted to get out there. So before I play this, I want to just tell you our plans. I told you about the retreats, right? I want to tell you about the CDs. So I told you I got yelled at because this one turned out white and male. And so we made this one. Well, I also got yelled at for the last 3 because they turned out whiter than they probably the military look. So I'm proud to announce that the next CD is a 3-volume set, BIPOC veterans. First CD is Black veterans, and executive producers, co-producers Connie, who you saw in that video. The other CD is Native and Indigenous Voices, and then Veterans of Color. That'll come out in 2023. After that, we're doing family and support, because I know there's a lot of people in this room who would appreciate that. There's something that the people who are therapists, there's parents, there's sons, there's wives, there's husbands, they have something to say. They're affected by this. What is their story? After that, we're going to do LGBTQ veterans. After that, we're doing injured and broken. Unfortunately, I just lost one of my leaders to COVID, an African-American woman who is physically disabled and a veteran. And she just passed 5 days ago to COVID. She was on our leadership committee for that CD, so I probably should have hung her name on there. And then it's going to be Tales from the Combat Zone. And finally, when we've covered, I think when we're done, we'll have over 1,000 veterans represented. It will represent the most inclusive collection of veteran testimony ever created in modern media. But when it's finally all done, the final CD, Volume 10, is going to be the victims of our wars, the survivors of our wars. What do they have to say? What does reconciliation look like? Can reconciliation happen after one country blows up another country? The last video I show you will tell you, yes, maybe it can. So now the song, and I can shut up. It's true, I can. Telling stories helps. I wouldn't be able to tell any of you most of what I said tonight if I wasn't hiding behind a story and a guitar. When the veterans at our retreats, I know I can't shut up. When they get to hold up their art, right? When I tell you my story, you're looking at me and you're looking at my soul. When I put my trauma into art, I can hold it up and I can talk about it, and you can look at it and I can look at it, and it's externalized. All right, the song. Joined to serve my country, to keep our nation free. They sent me downrange where I left a part of me, and now the person I once was is just a distant memory, trying to be the hero everyone will need. When I got back home and they gave me back my name, I was looking for some peace, but all I found was pain. Expecting pride and honor, all I got was guilt and shame. Can this be how my story ends? You have to learn to carry it if you want to make it home. When you share your story, you stop carrying it alone. There were days I can't remember, nights I'd rather not recall. My world came crashing down, I was trapped underneath it all. I started running for the exit, but all I seemed to do was crawl, trying to be the only hero I need. Now the memories of the trauma are the chains that binding me to the weight of it all. It finally brought me to my knees. If I could just let go of this burden, then perhaps I could break free, and I'd change how my story ends. You have to learn to carry it if you want to make it home. When you share your story, you stop carrying it alone. 'Cause it was tearing me apart to keep it all inside. But now that I spoke my truth, I no longer have to hide. It's so much easier to carry when you got someone by your side. Perhaps I'm not the only hero I need. It took a lot of work to get here, and I can't change where I've been. I don't know where I'm going, still I found that in the end, we all become the heroes, the only ones we'll ever need when we let the next chapter begin. You have to learn to carry it if you want to make it home. When you share your story, you stop carrying it alone. So as the curtain closes and this show comes to an end, you came to me as strangers, hope you're leaving me as friends. And if you share these stories, then our healing can begin, and you'll be the kind of heroes we need. You have to learn to carry it if you want to make it home. When you share your story, you stop carrying it alone. You stop carrying it alone. 'Cause Thank you all so very much for listening. My name is Jason Moon. Do you want to put Seeds of Peace on just as they leave? I want to tell you my prayer. I want to say a prayer. You guys can get up and leave because I told you the show is over. But here's my prayer because I'm on an altar in church, and I like Jesus. He is my teacher. So I'm just going to say the prayer out loud because this is what I want to happen. And it's only going to take 3 more minutes, I promise. The woman who came to the circle that I told you about and is now going to come to our retreat in February, MST Survivor from your community. I'd like some help raising money. Glenn is going to help me if you want to help raising money. We don't charge the veterans, but we have to raise $1,500 each veteran to rent the space and her plane ticket. I'd like...
That's exactly why you have the white envelopes that say thank you. All of that money is going to Jason's ministry. So we ask that you give generously so that we can show our love and support for all that you're doing.
And then, because I like to put in long requests, because God doesn't always listen to me, so I figure if he listens, I put it all in. Then when she comes back, a changed and transformed person, and speaks to all of you about it, then I'd like to consider the idea of bringing a retreat here. And I've spoken to my friend Scott about 4 different prospective retreat centers, and then we could all work together, bringing people from this community to healing and have an art show. And we'll get to do something like this. This is a song I wrote about reconciliation in Vietnam. I watched a Vietnam veteran and a NVA person who had literally put each other's brothers in the grave and wore tattoos of each other's brothers' names that they killed, hug and share a beer and celebrate building a library in Vietnam. And when I saw that, I realized anything is possible. All right, we'll do that and I'll shut up, I promise. So this will play as we're done.
Let us build, let us grow, plant the seeds of peace and reap what we sow. Let us sing together so the world will know. Let us build, let us grow, let us create where we once destroyed.